All right. For some reason, my Rift S decided that it wanted to reset up, so we're having to sit through the health and safety video here. But today, well, let's talk about last time. Last time, I got the character controller working using the built-in Unity character controller. So we got movement working and all sorts of good stuff. Today we're gonna look at re-implementing the climbing. The climbing I had in the previous version of this demo was, it was very basic. You literally just move the amount that you move your controller, and that was it. But you couldn't like throw yourself or anything. It was very, and like the way that you grab onto things wasn't super, I don't know, it just wasn't super satisfying. Like you could just grab anywhere inside of the grippable area. So for this, I want to make it a little bit velocity based. So I want to be able to throw myself up, sort of like if anybody's played Population 1, that would be cool. I do want to go for more of a natural physics based movement instead of what the VR Assassin's Creed game does, where it's very controlled, like it gives you a very specific amount of force. So we'll jump into that. If we get through that in a reasonable amount of time, then we'll look at re-implementing the grapple hook, which shouldn't be too bad. That was pretty much, yeah, that was pretty easy and straightforward last time, and I don't see that changing as much. But yeah, let's hop into this. Anyways, let's see. My health and safety video is up. I need to acknowledge the health and safety. Clear your play area. Hold your controllers. Continue setup in VR. Are you seriously gonna make me do this? Steps. We do need to actually set up the floor here. That's better. All right, so let's quickly just go over and look at what we did. I'll hop in here. So it's mostly just player movement and jumping is what we got. We're able to move, jump. We got the character controller. No, I haven't done turning yet. Are moving either by headset or we can do it by controller. I'm not going to do that right now, but yeah. Right. Beard or Die is back. What's up? Making your first vault mechanic, similar to Asgard's Wrath and Assassin's Creed Nexus. Yeah, I haven't played Asgard's Wrath yet. That's on my list for sure. Is it very similar to like Assassin's Creed though, where it's like it's very controlled, like it's a very specific amount of force? Yours based on Hurricane and Hexabody. Yeah, I have Hexabody. It's good. I don't know. I don't like learning. It's very bad of me, but I don't like learning libraries. So I was using Hexabody's their gravity calculations before. I don't know. I think there was a bug in the character controller in 2021.3, which is the version I was using before. So I was using theirs, but it seems to be working great now. Sick with a cold. Oh, sorry to hear that, man. Nice. Well, I'm glad to have you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, program for comfort. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, because I have a lot of friends who like, they're very new to VR, and they jumped into Population 1 right away, and it was like one of the few games that they had smooth locomotion, but they didn't really get sick right away. I don't know why that is, because I've never had too much of a problem with motion sickness. So it's interesting to kind of see those different approaches. But yeah, I'm gonna be going. I'm trying to like with this game. My goal is something more like Boneworks, where it's not trying to be super accessible. I might add some accessibility options in afterwards, but the main goal here is fun factor for people who are in gaming. Wrath 2 is a masterpiece. Yeah, I hear it's like really long. Isn't it like 50 hours or something? Crazy. I haven't even played the first one, so it's gonna be on my list for sure. All right. So first thing is I'm gonna need my climbing sort of bits. So let's go create that just out of a cube. So we're gonna create a what do I want to climb it? Climbable? Or call it? What do I want to call it? Climbable? 120 hours. Oh my goodness. All good, all good. 120 hours. I don't think I've only ever spent like 120 hours on like not a story-driven game for sure. I think it's just because I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. I played Population 1 during COVID, but like mostly like I'm not super, I don't like socializing with people I don't know. And here I am streaming. But yeah, no, so like normally for like story-driven game or whatever, I think I played 130 hours of Forza Horizon 5 just because I love racing games, and like then like Lego Star Wars, because the Lego games are really important to me. I'm trying to 100% the newest one, which is very hefty, so that one's getting up there. But I think like on a story-driven game, the most I've spent is like 60 hours on Red Dead 2. So oh, roguelike. Okay, I see. I don't know if I like roguelikes yet. I tried playing, what was it? Have a Nice Death recently, which I know it's a very new one, and like there's probably better examples like Hades or whatever, or roguelites, I guess. In that case, I'm not a huge fan of like playing things over and over again. I hate when I get to a boss battle. I'm gonna have boss battles in this game, but like I get so frustrated so easily in boss battles. That's why I've never played something like Dark Souls. Fallout 4, yeah, that's a good one. I haven't played in VR, but I still haven't finished Skyrim. I need to finish Skyrim first, but I put a lot of time. I think like I put like 35 or 40 hours into Starfield, so Fallout's on the list. So we've got our, I'm just gonna call it climbable. Let's center it so that I can position it properly once I get the visual. So mesh. Oh no, mesh should, in this case, we're gonna make the mesh a cube. I want to make the mesh separate because I'm gonna be scaling this mesh based on the thing, and I don't want to scale the actual object. So we're gonna make this, I don't know, like 10 centimeters tall. Well, X is gonna be width, so let's keep it at 1.1. That looks about right. Let's look here. Got that. Let's put a good old material on here. I think last time I had it as orange, so we'll keep that consistency. That has a collider on it already. I want to separate the collider though, I think. So I'm gonna put the collider on a separate object here. Just so I have a little more control over it, and then I can put in some other mesh, like say it's a ledge or something. But then I can actually make the collider even bigger actually than the object. It'll give me more control, so. Box collider. Am I gonna make it? I think I'm gonna make it a trigger actually. All right, so trigger, where's my, oh, it's over there. Oh, I moved the mesh, not this. Like an absolute idiot. Copy the position. Paste the position. Move that back under there. That's zeroed. Good. Okay. Mesh collider. Collider. This. Oh, box collider 2D. Whoops. I've been making too many 2D games here. Box collider 3D is trigger, and that is going to be 1, and then we're gonna have size 0.1, 0.1. Cool. And then basically I want, what do I want? I want do I want, I'll make it so that there might be multiple grip points. Basically my idea here is that you can put your hand into any part in this and then it'll kind of snap to the nearest like grip point. That's sort of what I'm thinking. I want to see how that feels. And then these will just be transforms. Grip 0. That'll be 0, 0, 0, which is fine. And then those will be referenced in the script, the climbable script. Yeah, okay. So let's create our climbable script here. I'm gonna make it in here, scripts. Player, I think environment. Based on real geometry later. Yeah, I might even have two. Like I'll have a big one for like, so you can grab sort of somewhere near it, and then there could be an actual collider that the player hand actually grips onto. We'll see. We'll see how it all feels. We're gonna create a folder. Player. Do I want to call it environment? Or I'll call it mechanics. Where do I want to put this? Because it's not like the climbing state is on the player. The climbable is, let's call it interactables. There we go. And then the C# script. Is that how you spell? Yeah. Does it have an E? I don't think it does. I'm just gonna do that. We can rename it later. Wrath 2 ladders are much better, but not perfect, because you can still pull yourself into the wall and respawn. It's not rigid body based. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're in like the N64 days of VR right now. Like, there's some stuff, but like, for example, N64 first-person shooters are all different. That whole era with Doom and 007, I was like, nobody had a standard way of doing things, and I feel like that's where we are right now. It's like nobody knows how we should be doing things, and that's what's really exciting about building VR games, is you kind of just try and see what works. There's no like trends you have to follow. It's cool. I mean, there are some, but like, it's exciting. climbable. So we're gonna have a serialized field transform from the old standard transform array, and that's going to be grip points. That's going to be equal to, because it's a list, we're going to want to do that just in case, so we don't get null reference exceptions. We're going to need, so that should be under a references header. And then we'll have our parameters header, which we're going to have a serialized field Boolean. It's going to be is top. Oh, actually, I can just check. I can just check if that's null, if like the top point, because I also want to be able to, like, when you get near the top, if you go sort of below your waist, you grab and you pull yourself below the waist, it'll sort of just pop you up to a specified point. So I can just check if that's null, honestly. So I don't really need a Boolean for it. Serialized field transform joints. What do you think I'm doing here? This is going to be the top point. It's going to be equal to null by default. Cool. Yeah, I do find that with what you're saying about indie developments, developers come up with more satisfying solutions, because I don't know, I feel like we have more time to experiment than they do, than the big devs do. So, and also, like, a lot of these big dev studios that aren't VR gamers themselves, they just want to have like a VR game division, and they're kind of just dipping their toes in. But a lot of the developers are people who have they might be the people who are more like excited to try new things, but they're still like, they don't come from that world of playing VR games, so they don't know necessarily what people look for. And I found that with both, like, I feel like Valve is the exception there, but I feel like both like Medal of Honor and Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed is pretty good, like it's getting there, but there are some things where you're just like, this is not how VR games work these days. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So yeah, top point, we're gonna check null. I'll create a public bool is top get, and top point is not equal null. Thank you, Visual Studio. Sometimes you're genius with your autocomplete. That's public. Yeah, that's fine. Top point is not equal to null. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Just wrapping my head around this. Okay. So now we got to figure out how we're actually going to do the physics on here. I haven't actually thought through this beforehand, so one thing we're going to need is we're going to need a way to, well, I guess we're going to have a climbing state. We need a climbing state. So climbing state, because then we're going to not apply gravity. We're not going to call this, which is good. So we don't need a way to like turn off gravity, which is what I was doing before. There was like gravity, apply gravity, Boolean somewhere in the character controller before. So player state's airborne. Actually, what we should do is this. This is a good habit to get into, I learned recently. Because then if you remove a state, it will keep the numbers so that it doesn't re-serialize in a different order, because it just serializes the Unity just serializes the number. So if it's implicit, then it might change if you're just fooling around with stuff. So say I wanted to get rid of climbing later. Say I just decided, you know what, climbing's not going to be a thing in the game anymore. I can just get rid of it, and all the numbers will line up. So climb, so grounded climbing, sure, equals 2. Cool. Then we're going to grab this signature here. We're going to edit. Come on. Player climbing. Going to go over to player movement up here, and we have to add climbing, which is good. And then we're going to need our update. And so we're not going to be able to move with the stick. We're not going to be applying gravity. What we're going to need is, we are going to need exit, actually. So public void x, did I call it exit? What did I call it? State machine. Exit is correct. Exit, or the game loader, player movement. No, player states, exit, and that's the, I think the reason why also the override wasn't working before when I was trying override is a thing in C#. It's just because this is a templated thing. The signature doesn't, I don't know, maybe it doesn't technically exist until you compile it. So that might be the thing why the override wasn't working before. But yeah, so player exit, and this is where we're going to apply exit velocity. So when we throw ourselves up, we're gonna try and keep track of previous position of your hand, the current gripping hand. We're gonna keep track of the previous position and the exit position on the frame, and then we can use that to get a velocity. So actually, we probably will need enter as well, because we're gonna need to get the position, like set the previous position to like when you grip it, so that we don't get a random previous position from like forever ago. So public void enter player movement agent. This is where we're going to set position and previous position variables. So the question is, should we be doing that? Because we'll be able to climb with both hands is the thing. So maybe we'll do that in here. Or maybe we'll just call climbing again, like the change state, when we regrip to a new point. But then we got to figure out multi-point. Yeah, no, probably not. We'll probably just we'll call on both hands. Yeah, so we'll put there'll be a script on the controller, I think, that will keep track of its previous position, and we'll just make sure that when we enter the state, we clear that. We'll see. We might there'll be an on. Maybe we'll just do an on grip on the player, on the character controller. Let's see, what are you saying here? Your headset tests may be interesting due to some ladder. Include some ladder grips. Different elevations, both hands grab and release, also moving ladder grip. Yeah, are you talking about like vertical sort of grips instead of like rungs? You need an enum to be flags because the player can be grounded and grabbing the ladder. Yeah, you could go about flags. A state machine, the idea of a state machine is that you're only ever in one state at a time, or there's like there are sub states. So with the flags is like it's a different pattern, which might be good. I don't know. For me, with my previous game Polychrome that I was doing all the player movement on, the state machine worked really well for me, so that's why I want to go about it here. Yeah, I mean, we may have to go back. In that game, I reworked the player movement like I think it was 3 times from scratch. So I'm not opposed to redoing that. Like even if we get to a point where I'm gonna try and pitch this to a publisher, and if we get to that point, and after it gets picked up, then I have no qualms with just gutting it and redoing some of the stuff to make it more scalable. We'll see. Not vertical grips. Imagine going into a hallway with ladder grips. This heart thing is in the way on both sides of the hallway. I'm trying to imagine this. Probably seem like an absolute idiot. Like hallway, narrow hallway, I'm assuming, and like pulling yourself forward, sort of. I don't know, or up, or like narrow hallway, both sides pull up, sort of deal. Am I getting it? Let me know if I'm getting it. Okay, so we'll need to. So we're gonna need a controller, like a hand script. So let's go ahead and make that. Player hands. So player hands, we're gonna have, we're gonna have a header, input, and then we're gonna have a serialized field that is an input action reference. And I want to make sure I'm naming things consistently. How did I name my inputs before? Was it input before? No, it's input after. Okay, so grab input. And let's create a I don't know if we'll need this, but I'm just gonna do that for now. Have a serialized field and we're gonna need a gameplay settings class probably, because I want to check dominant hand. I'm actually going to change this to dominant and non-dom. Dominant and non-dominant, and then I'll make it right-handed by default, but then if there is left-handed in the player settings, it will actually swap the two hands. Public and yeah, let's call it cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, think like rock climbing. Yeah, so like the idea here, let's go back to the scene. Before in my test scene, I had like this and like this, and then you could basically have any of these colliders anywhere you wanted. And then when you reach the top, there's one called is top, and then when you pull like below your waist, it'll pop up onto, there'll be a transform up here. So that's, yeah. Oh, I put these all in the all in the same climbable, but you get the idea. So it would pop up. So it makes it super modular, and then you can kind of then adapt it to any sort of idea. And you could put these on a ladder if you really wanted to. Like you could make a ladder out of them. But yeah, the idea is, yeah, it's gonna be super modular, kind of creating something like a like, you know, what are the games like Uncharted, or like the games that I play are like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, or what else has that? Like it's a very common sort of thing where you can sort of, it's like a cliff and then you sort of move along and then you sort of then grab up, or like, yeah, I guess God of War has it too, like stuff like that. Yeah, so we're trying to make it as modular as possible for sure. And yeah, if you have any like test scenarios, you're like, hey, John, my name is John. It's not Xepherin. I mean, you can call me Xepherin if you want. But you say, hey, John, you should probably think about this for sure. Let me know. Yeah, so that's the idea. I'm going to go back and get rid of these because those are in the wrong spots. But we'll have grips, and we'll have top on the transform. We'll just add that, I think, if we have it. Okay. Back to code. We have the hand. Hand is going to have input yes, Uncharted level agency without auto grab. I agree. Input events. No, that's not what it's called. On grab input. That's what I'm calling it to keep it consistent. That's input action, not reference. Dot callback context ctx. Cool. Let's go make a grab asset. Or a grab, what's it called? Input action in our control map here. I don't think I have one. No, just move it. No, not a script. What am I doing? The double click. My brain is not working right now. Main input. Gameplay, move, jump, and grab. It's going to be a button, and that button will be... We're gonna need two, actually. We're gonna need grab left. Is going to be XR controller, or left, so left controller. Unity really needs to fix this menu. It's not a problem in 1.4.4 version of the new input system, but this 1.6 version, like I wanted to make sure I had the latest up-to-date version, but and I knew about this problem. I figured they'd fixed it by now, though. It just like, it doesn't work if you click on the thing. You have to click like on the edges. It's really dumb. because it's detecting. I see my cursor is that turning into the line, so I think it thinks it's the text is registering instead of the thing. Grip button. Come on, give me the grip button. There we go. Left grip button. Duplicate. Grab right. Go back. No. You stupid. It thought I was pressing the listen button. It's just a mess. Grab. Grip. Cool. Save the asset. Good. So on grab input. Yeah, you're right. Raycast, true. I don't know if that's what it looks like behind the scenes because they're using like a heavily modified version of the IMGUI library behind the scenes, but yeah, basically, I think that's what's going on. On grab input. Somebody, when they built it, they forgot to turn off the debugging thing or something. I don't know. So I'm going to have a... I'm going to create a get void grab event. And then we're going to have there's going to be a public grab event on grab or let's say, I think normally the on grab is the thing that gets executed. This is the thing that's calling it. So I'm going to call it grabbed. Public grab event grabbed. Am I missing something here? Oh, it's player. Yeah, player hands. Oh, this is public. This needs to be public. Public delegate grabbed and released. And we'll spell it properly. Nope. We'll spell it properly. There we go. And then we're gonna need to go back to our main input here. And we're gonna need to take both of these, or we're gonna have to do it separately. Interactions plus, it's going to be press on, press and release. Same thing here. Press on, press and release. Save asset. Back to our thing here. And we're gonna say if ctx dot action dot read value. Is there something to do with buttons here? Is pressed. I want to look at the documentation on that. Because before I didn't, because you can't do, for like a button, you can't read value bool. It doesn't work. For some reason, you can read it as a float from 0 to 1 on a button, but for some reason you can't read it as a bool. So I'm gonna look at, let's get a new window here, and Unity input action. Class input action. Enable constructors. What is pressed? Type. Is pressed? Is not on here? I somehow doubt that. Enabled. Maybe input action callback context. Input action callback context. We'll look at it here. It should be in here. What is the action actually? Action is of type. Oh, it's of type input action. So it should be on input action. Yeah, I know there's press this frame. But because I don't, like, you could use that in other instances. In this case, I'm getting both the down and up, so I want to use the event here. Should be on here though. Nullable array boolean. This is enabled. Expected control type ID interactions property value name phase processors triggered clone disable dispose enable read value. Okay, we're getting close here. Read value is object. I don't care. To string. I don't care. Cancel. Let's say is pressed. Input system 1.0.2. There we go. So we're on the wrong thing. Let me just double check the version of Unity we're on here. Or the version of the input system. Package manager. Input. Where am I? Am I blind? This is services, packages. We're in project. OpenXR plugin input system is 1.7. See, last time I checked and that menu wasn't working. It was 1.6.1. So they updated to a full like second dot version, and they haven't fixed the menu. So that's why it's not in the documentation. So 1.7. is pressed. Yeah, here we go. Boolean true if the action is considered to be pressed state, otherwise false. Okay, so that should be what we're looking for then, or what I'm looking for anyway. Then we're gonna call grabbed nullable.invoke. And then, well, let's do it this way because I like doing it this way. Return. And then call grabbed nullable.invoke. And that's actually not what we want. We don't want grabbed, we want released. Grabbed, released. All right, let's catch up here. Do I ever use editor tools? Like Odin, Peak, Feel. I think I've used Odin, maybe, very briefly. Fmod is audio, right? We're using, I've got a client project I'm working on right now where the audio guy wants to use WWise. So we've been using WWise for that. I'm not familiar with it though. Rayfire. No, I haven't, I might have used Odin at some point. I think maybe an instructor gave me a package for it and I have it sitting somewhere, but I don't know if I've actually used it. Easy Collider Editor. Is that in one of these? Is that in one of these packages? Press this frame. Current state. Yeah. No, I think this should work. Otherwise, I would just do like is press or read value type float is greater than 0.5 or something like that. I mean, it is. We could read it as, we actually could, because it is, the grip button is an analog input, we could get it as a float and actually have a custom like grip point, so they have to like press it at least a certain amount down in order to grab it. But I think we can also do that in the input editor if we want. So let's go ahead and create an awake and subscribe this thing. So grab input.action.performed plus equals on grab input. Oh no, no brackets. It's the function signature. And then destroy. Get rid of that. Cool. And now we can subscribe to these elsewhere. You know what? We should probably pass in a transform. Let's pass in the transform. Pass in the transform. To this. I don't know, we might get rid of it later. Oops. So we are going to keep track of an update. Not on Animator IK. Don't even know what that does. Callback for setting up animation inverse kinematics. Interesting. I don't know why. I guess maybe if it's like you need to wait until the IK is done before you do something. Whatever. More you know. Update. On update, we're gonna have a previous position. Those are public. We're gonna keep those there. Private stuff under here. And we're gonna have a probably just vector 3s. I don't really need transforms. Vector 3, curve pause, and prev pause. And these are both going to be equal to vector 3.0. Cool. Great. Well, honestly, here on grabbed, we can reset. Because I could just keep track of the position, the previous position every frame. Like, let's be honest here. And then just grab it whenever, and I don't need to reset it. I think I might just do that. So, let's do this on start. Or start. Initialize. We're going to say that the previous position equals current position equals transform.position. It's a handy way of setting two things at once. You can do this if you want. And then we're going to need gameloader.callinComplete initialize. If we spell it right. There we go. It's just a fancy, I got this game loader object thing that I was given to by somebody I know who's a senior engineer at Unity. Apparently he's like, this is just way better than using start. I wish they got rid of start out of the default template. So I just use it because it's really good for handling singletons, but it also allows you sort of make sure all of your singletons and stuff have their starts or their initialize functions in this case called before anything else in your scene, which is good. And then you don't have to fiddle with the execution order window, which kind of sucks. So that's just what this is. Yeah, game loader. Is that in a, no, it's not even in a namespace. He didn't namespace it. What? Okay. Initialize, we're going to set those positions. And then, so previous position is going to be the current position. We don't need it to be normalized. Visual Studio, And then the current position is going to be equal to the transform.position. We can get, let's calculate this once. We don't have to do it multiple times. We'll have a vector 3 velocity. 3.0, we'll set that. Sorry, that's velocity. It's going to be equal to, or this shouldn't be velocity, it should be delta. Move delta. And that's going to be the current minus we don't even need that. Hang on. Do we need, wait, no, we do need it because we need to carry it over the frame. Current position minus previous position. And then we'll be able to public to get, this is a vector 3. Perfect. Great, okay. So I'm just thinking here. I think I should have a separate script called the climb controller, which will get these inputs from this script, but then that will manage things like checking the collision and stuff like that. So we'll do that. Get back here. All right. Go back to scripts player. This also makes it so that if I want to do like a physics-based hands later, like what I did with my Flappy Bird thing, it'll make it so that I can change the player hands algorithm completely, and it won't bug up the climb controller. When does it call start? I actually, to be completely honest, I don't know. I think it's actually after start. I'm not entirely sure though, because like I was just given the scripts, so I could look into it, but I don't know. It's the idea though is that you're supposed to use it instead of start altogether, so you're not supposed to be using start. But it's basically similar to start. Climb controller. So we should be able to get controller. We should be able to get the player hands. Let's just call it hands. Like, seriously call this hands? It should be player hand. Is that gonna, just making sure that's gonna rename the file? Yes, it did. Okay, cool. Climb controller, player hand, hand. On awake, we're going to go find that. For now, that might change later. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna game loader dot call and complete Initialize. Private. The only thing about using initialize is that Visual Studio really wants to autocomplete this to this on server initialized. So you need to press escape in order not to. I could call it init, but I don't know. Maybe I should just call it init. I'm gonna call it init. You know what? Screw it. Init. I can do the same on the player hand here. Where was I? We're in climb controller, init. On here, we're gonna get hand dot what did I call it? Grabbed. I have an on grab and on release. Forgotten how to write functions. Oh, these need, that needs the transform. I guess we're on that hand, so I don't know if we really need that. We'll get rid of it later. On release. Okay, cool. So the hand is going to have also a reference to the climbable. And we're going to be setting that based on entering and exiting the trigger. So that means we're going to need an on trigger enter, a private on trigger exit. So we're going to say other dot game object dot get component climbable. We could compare the tag, or we could set it as a tag, but I don't know if I want to do it. Am I going to need access? Because if I'm going to need access to, well, I'm storing the climbable, so I'm going to need the thing. So so we need this in both. If TMP use this good old early return. Gotta love it. So we're basically just making sure that this is in fact climbable and not something else. And we're gonna check here. I don't think this should ever happen. Like, I mean, it can happen if you were to overlap these climbing things. Yeah, I guess it could happen. We'll see how this feels. If TMP, so this is on exit. If it's not equal to the climbable, then we're gonna debug warning. Climbable, yeah, so there's no E. This is not the same climbable. Oh, the loading percentage? Yeah. I don't know. I could ask him. I could send him a Discord message and ask him, but yeah, no, I'm not, or I could just look at the code before next time. So yeah, if this is the case, we're also going to return. This is not the same climbable. Yes, okay. And so now in this case, this is the same climbable, so we're just gonna set climbable to null. And then we're gonna do temp is null. If no, we don't want temp. Oh, temp is climbable. If climbable not null. Debug log warning again. So now what we can do is we can check if we are currently climbing something, or if we currently have a climbing something. So many functions that I'm calling here. Maybe I'll just exit climb. I don't think we'll use the exit in the state. I think we'll just call these. This will apply the velocity to our character controller, which we're going to need access to. So header references. This needs to be serialized. So here on grab, we're going to say if the climbable is not equal to null, say is null return release need an is climbing. That we're gonna need to set here. So if we're climbing on is climbing and equals, what are you doing, Visual Studio? Climbing is false, and then here we will climb on or begin climbing. No, what? Visual Studio, you're so dumb. Why are you so dumb? Exit. No, we're gonna call this end. And we're gonna be making What are you doing? What am I? Oh, because I'm setting this equals to. That's why this is. There we go. That was annoying me. Pro tip. You ever see these grayed out usings? Those are from random autocompletes. And some of them will cause you to not be able to compile your code. Visual scripting can be, it's one that comes up a lot and can prevent you from building. The main one is Unity Editor. Using Unity Editor will almost certainly prevent you from building. So, yeah, I hate it. it's you don't get it so much with if you're using Visual Studio 2019, but if you're using Visual Studio 2022, it happens all the time. It's so funny because it'll be to the point where I get so paranoid about it whenever something autocompletes to something that I don't mean to, that even in C++, I'll like freak out when it autocompletes to something else, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't use using in C++. There's no problems here. Also, it probably will have no problem compiling because you're cherry picking what's going on anyway. So, and there's a lot more stuff involved if you are doing cross-platform stuff. So, but I still, like, part of my brain freaks out even when I'm programming in C++ and that happens. I'm like, it's not gonna build. Yeah, I mean, it's always just a good habit to get rid of any usings that you're not using. So like I've edited my default template so that it doesn't have the start and update, as well as it gets rid of the system.collections.generic and system, I think it's just system, what's the other one? System.collections and system.collections.generic. To be a null check is climbing. To be, oh yeah, null check. No. So the climbable is not, this is not, we're not necessarily climbing if this is not null. So the idea here is that you can, when you put your hand into the trigger, that is the collider, the climbable is just aware of the fact that we're in the vicinity of the climbable. Then once we actually call the gripped, we're gonna check then, hey, is this climbable, is this null? If it is, then we're not gripping that, we're gripping something else. Like maybe it's a like, I don't know, a prop, like a mug or something. We're gripping that instead of the actual climbable. So that's why these two are sort of, they're important here. So what am I doing? So temp is, yes, the collider. So that's why we're going through three sort of steps here. There's so there's the trigger enter and trigger exit. These are just saying, hey, are we in the vicinity of grabbing something? And then we're subscribing to the grabbed and release. So that's the actual input. And on those, we're checking if it is null, that means we're not trying to grab a grabbable, or we're not trying to grab a climbing surface. So we can just return right away. And the same here. So if it's released and this one's not actually checking the null because it doesn't really matter. Because this should be false. If this was null in the first place, this should still be false, so it shouldn't really matter. And then this is where we'll start changing. So this is where we can change the state. So I don't know if we have the stuff public. Say to climbing. And then we'll change state to airborne or grounded at top point. So those are sort of, so we'll check here. So if we're like, if we are grounded, this will, even if we set it to like we are on the ground, this will set the, this will still set it to grounded. Like we'll go airborne and then grounded. But if we're going to the top point, we should probably be diligent enough to set it to grounded. Cool. Right, let's go check to see if we can change the state, if that is available. Player movement. This is the one with our state machine. We have move axis, move speed, state machine movement. So, okay, we have access to the state machine internally, so we can set it that way. So I don't have a function called change state, which I'm okay with. So let's say we have access to move. Yeah, we have access to player movement dot state machine dot change state to the integer type, excuse me, of player states dot climbing. So now we'll check if is top. I guess we're checking the top. What did I call that? Oh, that's the climbable. Yeah, so we need the when we're letting go. So ideally, when we're letting go, we should be still in that trigger. So it wouldn't be until we fully exit and pull our hand away that the climbable becomes null. So I will just put in a warning here. So this should never happen, but I'm gonna put a message in here just in case, so we're not wondering, why isn't it working? I would say don't change the state of the machine directly, use change state method. Yeah. Cool. So climbable. So now we're gonna check if, so we got to get, so for the teleportation for the top, I'm not going to do that yet. My brain is not ready to do that math yet. So check top and grab point, grab height. So we'll have there'll be like a relative y value that we'll check on the grab. So if it'll be a serialized field, so we'll test that out basically. So if it's like below, so say the general human is like, I don't know, we'll say like, we'll assume like 1.6 meters or 1.6 units in this case. Then like say if the hand drops below 1 meter and you let go, then we'll teleport up. Otherwise, we're just gonna drop down and set our state here to airborne. Airborne. Coolio. So, do we have climbable is top? Yes, we did that. Nice. Okay, let's look at our climb state here. So I'm going to get rid of this because this enter and exit, that's going to be called by those other functions that we created here. Yeah, what we can do is that is a good point, visualizing it. So I have my VR debug monitor, or my VR debug screen that's on like the side. So we can do that. So let's go to player movement, because that's where our state machine, we're calling update on the state machine here. Update, what we can do is we can call VR debug.monitor to 1. And we can say players, I'll just put the state in there. So we have the, what is it? Oh, we're gonna have to do some fancy stuff here. It's gonna return us an integer, so we're gonna need player states, and then that's going to be state machine dot add state. Do I not have a current state? What the heck? I'm sure I had a current state. Let's go up here. State machine. State machine, add state, update state, change state. No, we don't have a current state. I might have added it in the last place I used this, and then I just didn't grab that one. So and that is just going to, or we can set this as a, whatever these things are. Oh, this needs to be a type. Oh. Interesting, because it's saving it as a state, so that's annoying, not as an index. Yeah, we could specialize it. I would like to make this, because this is like it's not even a Unity thing. This is just a C# thing that I've done here. Get rid of that. We need to get rid of that. So integer is universally and can be universally applied. So if I just take the state machine pattern and plunk it into another project, I can do it without like if I just literally grab this script and put it into any other project, whether it's a Unity project or some other C# project, like say I'm using C# in, I don't know, CryEngine, I don't know. I can plot this in, it works perfectly. So that's my reasoning behind it. But if you wanted to, you could of course specialize it for sure. So I am gonna change the way that this works though. Current state is now going to be current state, get returned current state. Cool, now we're gonna need to call that, as well as state there, states index. Equals index, so we get rid of that. There, yeah, okay. States, then we take care of these. These are gonna be less than 0. Current state is less than 0. Current state is less than 0. Is that it? Yeah. And then, so now that gives us the current, state as an index. Cool. Oops. Back to, where were we? We were working on the client controller? No. I mean, I guess I can just do this. No, okay, what was I? I was in the states. No, movement? Yes, here we are. So player states, state machine dot current state dot toString. Sorry, no, we got that. Okay, that is that. So we're casting this to player states. Yeah, okay. So that should tell us what state we're in. Ideally. Hopefully. We'll see. At the very least, we can get the number out of it if we really want to. Or if the toString function doesn't work, but I'm pretty sure in C# toString just gives you the name of the enum. So there we go. We're able to see what state we're currently in. Great. Here, I think we're here, right? So check. Okay, no, we're in states. Sorry, I'm getting back to what we were doing here. So we have player movement. So here we can apply how are we going to find the hands? That is the question. We're going to get it from the agent. So we have the transform of the left controller. So I'm going to change this to player hand. Left hand. Make a right hand. And then we're going to have to fix this somewhere. .transform.forward, .transform.right for our relative movement. And then we can get some internal stuff here. So internal player hand, left hand, return left hand, and then we right hand. Are we gonna do left hand, or am I gonna do dominant hand, non-dominant hand? Doesn't really matter for movement, or it shouldn't. The dominant hand and stuff only matters for like where the weapons and gadgets are gonna be. Like these could just be called hand 0 and hand 1 if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter if they're left or right, so we'll just do that. So I think the idea here is that we're going to, let's write out the steps. We're gonna check which hands are climbing. And then we're gonna average move deltas. Apply, oops. Apply move to the controller. And then we're going to, I'm also just thinking of something here, so I'm just gonna write it down. On begin climb, we're going to snap the position of hand to closest grip point. And we're back in states, so we're going to apply the movement deltas. That should be it. Maybe we need to update put that there just in case we need to do that. Okay, so check whether our hands are climbing. We're gonna say how do I want to structure this if statement? It's bugging me. So if, because we only need to do the average if both hands are gripping. Otherwise we don't want to do, we don't even want to try the division there. First, we'll check both. So if agent dot because we need to check. Okay, so these are actually going to be the grab. Oh, I don't like this. I don't want to call get component on every frame, so we're gonna go back here. I'm going very, very slowly back and forth to different things to set things up. So we have on our player movement, we're gonna have these serialized references to the player hand. But then we're also going to have private climb controller, left climb, and right climb, which are going to be called on those. We're going to need an initialize. No, init doesn't even get us away from that autocomplete. Dot call and complete init. init, and then on init we're going to say left climb is going to be equal to left hand dot get component player climbing, and then do the same with the right hand. What am I missing here? Oh, climb controller. Oops. Player climbing is the state. Okay, so we have access to those, and then we're gonna just yoink those. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I know I do. Because at heart, I am a C++ programmer, I like being very specific about what I'm making private and public. I don't know. It's probably stupid. It comes from it comes from being able to call like have these with the underscores on them, so that I know that is like internally that's what's happening, and whereas these won't, because I know the proper naming convention is you're supposed to use the capital letter, but I don't like that because I don't know then whether or not I'm supposed to put parentheses on the end of it. Is it a function? Is it not a function? So it's definitely not necessarily the right way. I think it depends on your school of thought. Some people will say that the get set or get private set is like is a shortcut that you shouldn't be taking, whereas other people are like, it's modern C#, you should be doing it. So depends on the camp that you're in. It's just my preference. As well as it allows me to specify things like when something is being set, if I want to do something else to it beforehand. Like I want to make sure that, like, say I had a previous, I need to store the previous state, it'll allow me to go ahead and do something with it before I set it. Yeah, you're totally valid in doing that, and it's definitely, like, I'd say most C# developers, when they're like good enough at C# that they're not considered a beginner, they will definitely do that. But I don't know, it's just the C++ programmer in me. Why is this? Oh yeah, it's because it's just a separate thing, that's why. Okay, cool. Yeah, it does kind of feel, it does feel a little bit too magical for me. For sure. I like control. There's a lot of things that, like, you don't have control over in C# that just bug the crap out of me. That I'm just like, in C++, I can just do this. Whereas in C# I gotta do some random thing. It's just annoying. For me. I'm also just weird that way. I have another friend he's basically in the opposite camp as me. He's like one of my best friends for programming and like as a programmer. And he just loves listening to me rant about C# because then I'll be like, oh, I hate how you can't, like, for example, we're doing all this internal stuff in the player movement. What I really want is to have the friend system from C++, where I can specify a very specific class that has access to the private functions of it. So like I could say that only the climb controller and the the climb controller and the player states classes have access to the private stuff that's in here, and which is really handy when you're building libraries. Which, if you're building a library, generally the idea is that it would be its own separate DLL. So like in this case, that's what internal is for. But I just get so annoyed, and then so I'll complain about things that aren't in C#, and then he's like, "Oh, but you can just do this," and I'm like, "But it's not the way I want it, man." And then he's in the opposite camp. He likes C# more because he doesn't have to go through a lot of BS, which is understandable for sure. All right, so we're checking agent dot left. So we're saying if a agent dot left climb dot is climbing. Yes, that is what I want. And agent dot right climb is climbing. Then we're gonna do a, this is gonna be both. And then we're gonna return. Or are we gonna return? No, we're not gonna return because I wanna do the final velocity. So we'll do the other one in the else statement. How am I going back here again? Climb controller. I'm going back on end climb. End climb is when you release. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is not what we want. No, 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 no. No, this is bad. Because this is going to call it every time we grab, and we want to potentially stay in the grab state while things are being grabbing and not grabbing. Darn it. We can check the state though. Player movement dot state machine dot current state is not equal to the int of the climbing. Or we'll say equals. And then we'll return. And shouldn't need that, and this is going to be called from our state now. So on our player states climb, so we'll call end climb here on the else. Yeah, I know. I kind of know how you feel about that, being able to see internal. as a SDK developer, though, I definitely like having the control of like, yeah, you're not, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't, this is for me. This isn't for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of gets annoying. It gets annoying when there is something that you want though. Like there's, in C++, there's a graphics library called SFML that I like using. And I have my own input system for C++ that I wanted to use instead of theirs because I hate theirs so much. And but in order to get like accurate mouse positioning relative to the window, you need the window handle. But they don't make that available. They have reference to it in their own script, but they don't make the window handle available to you because it's supposed to be cross-platform. So it's trying to grab specifically the Windows HWND is you're not supposed to, because it's supposed to be just a cross-platform system that just works. So in that case, I have the code for it, so I just went and I just edited it. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. And can you fire the on event release from each hand and have the climbing state subscribe to those? So that is currently how it's set up. Like each hand is asking for or is subscribed to each hand's release on that. But what we're gonna do here is we're gonna check. We're going to go about ending the climb in this check here. So it's just gonna be an if-else statement that's gonna have an if, two else ifs, which is just gonna check each hand, and then there's gonna be an else, which is gonna be that none of them are climbing. And then in that case, we need to get out of this state, in which case that will go back to airborne or teleporting us up to the grip point. But then we need to know which hand was the last one that was grabbing. We can keep track of that here, actually. Or we can, yeah. Is this not our enum? Oh no, that's the XR struct. What do I call this? Oh, it's player hand.hand. This is why you always namespace things, is because this crap. It's another gripe I have with C# is that everybody uses the using things. Whereas if you ask any like high level or high end like senior C++ developer, they'll tell you don't use namespaces. Don't use using namespaces at a global level at the very least. Sure. So else if I'm gonna check these ones. Hang on. Cool. Oh, equals. So instead of calling this a bunch of times, we're just gonna call these. Oops, not build. I want to build. is left climbing, and we will say that we're not going to use these. It's going to be bool. And this is where we can check which hand we're dropping below our waist. Yeah, because Control B, good old Control B is right next to Control V. What's really funny though is even in C, like in C++, I do a lot of like building of lib files separately, but I always right click build. I don't know why I don't press Control B. It's because I want to like make sure that I've got like the right one selected or something. Oh, I guess because it'll only build the one that you've got as the setup as the active project. In this case is the XR interaction toolkit sample starter assets thing, which, speaking of which, ooh, this one will stop you from building for sure. Right, so this is where we're going to average. We're just going to apply stuff. And then we're going to have our layer climbing, or this is climbing controller, sorry. Active hand equals null. So here we're going to do both, but here we're going to say equals the agent dot left climb right climb. Let's actually create, we can add other functions here. Or, yeah. Player movement agent, let go. So we'll just call. I think we need delta time as well. So that way that is separated out. And this will set, in this case, we will check is top and Y value of hand. But ultimately, we're just going to say agent.stateMachine.changeState is going to be the integer of player states dot airborne. Cool. And then this will be where we'll set it to grounded in the top if that is in fact what's going on here. Or no, that I'm dumb. I'm stupid. This is where we call the call the last. I'm gonna do something that may not be readable. We're gonna do last hand left question mark. Sorry. Is going to be this agent dot left colon agent dot right dot. That is the climb controller and climb. Look at that. Absolutely disgusting for readability. So, and then that is called in the other script. Which, yes, is calling airborne. Right? Yeah. Because we have delta time here, so we're gonna say we have reset y velocity. We have set. We'll set velocity. We'll have a set velocity function, which we're gonna get. So we're gonna have a vector 3. Velocity is going to be equal to the move delta. Is that on here? I thought that. Oh no, that's on the hand. Dot move delta divided by. Yes, move delta divided by time dot delta time, and that will give us the velocity. Except for we're doing it in the opposite direction. So it'll be negative move delta. Because if we're pushing ourselves like down into the left, we need to go up, and down into the left, we need to go up to the right. Okay, and then we need to create this. Set velocity, where's our set reset? Or set velocity. Now we're going to go back to our states, and we're going to call so we're going to need to update our positions in here of our hands, or of our bodies. I want to look at how I did this before. How did I do this before? VR. The old project. Systems, plugins, scripts. What do I call? So we got player hand and late update, previous position. That's interesting. Got the previous position delta. Can climb. Did I do this in here? Climb move. Character controller move amount. So climb move. Where's climb move being called from? Player? Climb move. So we literally just... Yeah, we literally just did that. So here we're gonna have set velocity. Let's get a velocity here. On the climb controller. Oh no, that's in the hand. Do I want that though? What's this? Where's this? Oh yeah, set velocity. So agent.set velocity to we will pass through this though. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna say absolute movement. Internal absolute move. 0. Okay, so then in our states, we call agent.absolute_move is going to be the active hand. We're going to call this out here. We're going to have a vector 3. No, not here. It's going to be here. 3 move amount. System numerics vector 3? Where the heck did that come from? By. Oh, because we're using that thing. Okay, using Unity. Unity engine. 0. So I was wondering why that was uppercase. Does your set velocity method apply the velocity of the rigid body on the next fixed update or immediately? It applies it. It applies it on update because that's how. Yes, if you're using a rigid body, we're not using a rigid body. But if you're using a rigid body, yes, fixed update for sure. But in the Unity documentation, they update the position on they update the position of the character controller on update instead of fixed update. I don't know why, but that's what they decided to do. So we are applying it on update. But it's also velocity is it's our own function because I believe character controller does have velocity, but it is an interface, so it's read only. So it's just literally it's probably keeping track of the last position and just giving you a velocity, so you can't set the velocity or the position. So we're calling character controller.move on update, wherever update is. Yeah, we're calling character controller.move on update with delta time, and then this velocity here is just being set in the set velocity. It's just a private member. Private private variable that we have inside the class. But yeah, it's weird. Like I can pull up the character controller. .move. And then in the example here, they're calling it on update. I don't know why, but that's the way that they are doing it in the documentation. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Because otherwise you'll get the jittery motion of, the, like when you do things on fixed update. Like that's why you shouldn't move the position of a rigid body on fixed update. You should just give it a velocity instead, which some people will also argue that's bad too. But that's what I do. If it's the player controller, I have no qualms about setting its velocity, because when it comes to its conflict resolution, player character should have priority anyway. So I don't know why, but yeah, strange. The funny things Unity does to us. What was I on? I was on states, maybe? Yes, because I was applying that move delta, this absolute move. Copy that, paste that there. And then here, we're gonna need to now look at both. So move amount is going to be the average of the two. So it's going to be agent left climb dot move delta plus that one. Divided by 2f. And then I can put negative in brackets around here, but we'll just do it this way instead. Now that should ideally apply the absolute move, and it won't in the case of the else and let go because we are returning. Update hand position grip point. We're not gonna do that yet. Put a 2D on that. Average move deltas, apply move deltas to player movement velocity. So we're not applying it to the full velocity anymore. We're gonna apply it to absolute move. Cool. Hopefully, I'm gonna go out on a whim here and see if this is gonna work. I'm not gonna double check myself here. I know we got to assign some inputs for the grab in the inspector and attach the scripts. But other than that, we should be relatively good to go. Okay, so we have, get rid of the environment. Go to players, camera offset, left controller, right controller. I'll have all this XR interaction, toolkit stuff. Cool. So we got the visual. Let's do the collider. We'll do it as a sphere collider. We'll make it. Oh, that's the center. Whoops. Radius 0.5. Oh no, we were on 0.5, 0.1. Yeah, that should be good. Copy that, paste that on the right controller, left controller. Do I want to? Yeah, I'll put them on. I'll put them on here. So we'll have our player hand, as well as our climb controller. So we're gonna need our player movement script. And then on each of these will be separate. So dominant, this will be, so this is left hand. So we're gonna do non-dominant. We're gonna grab the controls main input, grab left, input action. I'm going to do our grab right input action on the right controller. And then we hope and pray that this is gonna work. I will actually, I'll put a couple of these. That's the mesh, duplicate the actual climbable, put it up here. The top should not work though, obviously. Let's give it crossed fingers try. Now we're not moving. Oh, index. What's this? On this line? What is... Hang on, what's the thing? Argument out of range of exception. Index was out of range, must be non-negative. So why are we... Oh. If... Oh, so we need greater than equal. Because this was not equal to null. This is, yeah, if it's null, we're gonna do that. Okay, cool. So we weren't even in the grounded state. That's why we weren't moving. Cool. Try that again. Oh, we got a couple null reference exceptions. I'm gonna make these. I was trying to see if I could see the gizmos. It'd be nice if I could see the gizmos in the headset, because then I could see like the collider and the trigger on my hand. But that doesn't look like it's working. But we've got a null reference exception. I am going to make this ball the same size as the visual, the same size as the collider. So the collider is 0.1. So we, oh, there is a collider there as well. So we're gonna take the collider off of here, as well as off of here. These are 0.1. So we'll make the visuals. Or the visuals are, okay, I'm gonna make the colliders 0.05. There we go. What is this null reference exception? Player movement, object not set to an instance of object. In init 70. Get component climb controller. So it wasn't able to find climb controller on movement, but we should, oh, we don't have, I changed the names of these so they're not serialized, or at least the left one didn't stay serialized, but we also needed to do the right one anyway. Try that one more time, hopefully. Great. So one thing I noticed is that that state that we were talking about is flickering between grounded and airborne, which is not great. But also, yeah, that's also not working. So I'm gonna call some logging functions, because That's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna check to see if the collision is actually working, because the collider is not on the same object. It should check children, but you never know. On trigger enter, on trigger enter. Because the trigger is the other thing. The collider here is in fact a trigger. It's climbable trigger. So we're gonna go here and say, oh, if there's no rigid body on the parent? Interesting. Well, let's just go ahead and move that collider component then. Come on, paste. Value is new. No, it's not doing it. Whatever. Sphere collider with a random radius for some reason. 0, 0 and 0.05. This is the right controller, correct? Yep. Collider by left controller. Sphere collider. Where are these numbers coming from? I'm gonna get rid of these text mesh pro. Or not. Let's get rid of the 3D icons. There we go. Just want to see the colliders. Okay. We'll check we'll do the debug.log here. Trigger enter. It's going to be So we'll see if that's even working. First of all. I just remembered what it is. You're sort of onto the right thing there. I don't know if the parent children thing is right, but it definitely doesn't check any collisions at all if one of the things does not have a rigid body on it. So we need to add rigid bodies to these for sure. These are kinematic, so we're not going to care about the mass. Oh, this needs to, sorry, we need to turn this off first. Rigid body. Is kinematic. Rigid body is kinematic. Now this should work. Really need to move my player controller over here. Still not getting it. Why in the world? Where did I put that log? On trigger enter of the climb controller. Climb controller is on the hand with the sphere collider, which is not a trigger, and a rigid body that is kinematic. With the climbable, that one specifically that I'm trying to do at the bottom has a collider on it. That is a trigger. Has a mesh that has no collider. And the grip shouldn't matter because we're not referencing that yet. Yeah, let's check the layers. Because this is default, which is fine. Player, left controller. So these are on player. So let's go look at our project settings. So I turned off player and player ground check. But player default is still on. So cloth inner collision. Oof, cloth sims. No thank you. Not right now. Yeah, the ones on the controllers, which I'm reaching out with my right controller, but both of them are not set as triggers. Is trigger. Shouldn't need to interpolate or anything. It's probably something really dumb. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check and make sure that this collider is following. Yeah, it's following. Layer overrides. Nope. Mesh collider overrides. Just gonna check this. I turn collision off on that one. This will break the game completely, but incorrect signature. What is the signature? Collision. I don't know why they make it a different thing, but yeah, we'll do that. Must be attached to an active key object with active hierarchy. Yeah. we'll do the rigid body thing next. Nope. I hate how there's no like static like in the 2D rigid bodies. So that's strange. The one above is working just fine. This one's working just fine. So it's not the rigid body for some reason. This is baffling me. Or no, not reset. We need to remove. This one's working. Climbable. Climbable, collider is trigger. It's the exact same crap. Let's delete this and duplicate this and move it down here. See what we get. So my left hand is working and my right hand is not. What did I do on my left hand that I didn't do on my right hand? Oh, my right hand's center is like not where it's supposed to be. That'll do it. So we're not, it's always something really dumb, isn't it? You've done something really stupid. Yeah, I think when I put these sphere colliders on, it was trying to get something from up here. I think probably the line renderer, and it was basing the center point because it likes to auto adjust to the geometry right? When you add it, it was trying to probably get the center of this ray interactor or something, or the line render. I don't know, but I don't know if the actual climbing will work, but all right. Yeah, no. Or at least we got the collisions working. But I think that's something that we will hold off until next time. Thanks for sticking around, Beard or Die, helping me out here. I should probably be doing something tomorrow, maybe in the evening. So if you're still around, see if I'll crack into this tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. See you next time, man.